The term anchor baby is the focus of a heated debate in the race for the White House right now. It's a term used to describe children born in the U.S. whose parents are not citizens. The children automatically become citizens, of course, according to the 14th Amendment. Let's talk about the debate over this term with our political commentators, Marc, Lamont, a professor at Morehouse College, and Ben Ferguson, host of the Ben Ferguson radio show. Guys, to set the stage, the whole controversy began when Donald Trump used the word, which a lot of people find very offensive. Others call that criticism another example of being too politically correct. Trump got people talking. Later, Jeb Bush jumps in. He uses the term, then tries to clarify. Listen.
A lot of people think that it is absolutely, in terms of anchor babies, that it is not covered. So we're going to find out. But look, here's the story. Here's what happens. Wait a minute. Wait. Here's what's happening. A woman is going to have a baby. They wait on the border. Just before the baby, they come over to the border. They have the baby in the United States. We now take care of that baby, Social Security, Medicare, education. Give me a break. It doesn't work that way. The parents have to come in legally.
What I said was it's commonly referred to that. That's what I said. I didn't use it as my own language. What we ought to do is protect the 14th. You want to get to the policy for a second? I think that people born in this country ought to be American citizens.
Marc, to you first. We also heard this week from Republican candidate Ted Cruz calling this whole debate political correct nonsense. Is it that, or is it more?
It's definitely more. First of all, Jeb Bush has had a fairly humane stance on immigration. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's been reasonable, just like his brother, former President Bush, was reasonable on it. He wrote a book in 2013, never used the word anchor baby. Why? Because he was reasonable. Suddenly, once you enter mainstream Republican primaries, now all of a sudden you're trying to appeal to the extreme wing of the party, and you know that a term like anchor baby ticks off the left, and so you defend it, not because you believe in it, but because you don't want to seem too politically correct or too sensitive. You don't want to alienate yourself from the Trump base. So this is really a game of political maneuvering for Jeb Bush, and Donald Trump is just being Donald Trump.
Yeah, and, you know, we're not talking about the issue, the actual sort of substantive issues on immigration reform, what you would do, what you wouldn't do. Ben, I do want you to listen to what Pat Buchanan, who ran for president multiple times, sure. 92, 96, 2000, what he said today to our Michael Smerconish.
He's got a valid point. It's a tremendous issue. People are really upset by it. And the media are saying, why did you use those two words? Why don't you get another two words? What is the matter with this country, given the crises we are in? People are running around asking if the verbiage is politically right or not.
Does he have a point, Ben?
Yeah, he does. I mean, if you look at this whole entire conversation over the last year, you can't say the word illegal immigrant because people say that that's a terrible thing to call someone. Now you can't say that people have anchor babies when in reality, that's exactly what they do. The feds busted multiple hotels and apartment complexes earlier this year in California in a sting. They went into 19 different places where women from all over the world, not just across the border, come into this country specifically to have an anchor baby. They went in and busted them. The FBI was involved. The IRS was involved. Hospitals were involved because these people were saying that they didn't have any money, so they couldn't pay the hospitals, and they went back to their country and they also had an American citizen child that would help them get back into this country. So this is the reality we're living in. And the fact that we're arguing over anchor baby or saying someone is an illegal immigrant or instead of an undocumented worker, now we want to call them dreamers to make it sound better. This is political correctness, and it's run amok, and it's exhausting.
Have we gone, Marc, too far with this debate when look what happened in France yesterday? This gunman is thought to be tied to ISIS. You've got the market absolutely tanking. You've got Iran and the negotiations there. Will this deal pass? Won't it? And this is what's getting a lot of coverage.
Well, I think we should be talking about all those issues. I mean, the great thing about a place like America and the great thing about the modern media landscape is that we can deal with multiple issues simultaneously. To Ben's point, Ben's saying the anchor baby is okay because of all these realities of FBI raids and people having, exploiting birthright citizenship, et cetera. The argument isn't that people don't have babies that are allowed to stay in the country. That's not in dispute. That becomes a straw man. We all agree that there is a circumstance where people are taking advantage of birthright citizenship. The question is, are we able to have a healthy conversation if instead of talking about them as people, we talk about them as anchors? The question is, can we be humane in the discourse and still have a productive conversation?
This is where I would say, I don't think when people use the terminology anchor baby, they're talking about the child. They're talking about what the parent is doing. The parent is trying to put an anchor in this country by having a child here that does, in fact, have citizenship. I'm not saying that child shouldn't have citizenship. I condemn the comments from Donald Trump. If you're born in this country, no matter who your parents are or how they got here to have you, you're an American citizen. I'm not talking about the child. I'm talking about the act of the parent who is purposely putting an anchor in this country. It's towards the parent, not the child. And this is where, again, the semantics of political correctness is run amok.
But Ben, you can't say you're calling someone an anchor baby and say you're not talking about the baby. Anchor baby refers to the baby, not the parent. That might not be your underlying.
It's a definition of what the parent's intent was, which was to have an anchor in this country.
I understand the etymology of the word. What I'm saying is when we say the word anchor baby, we're talking about the baby. That's axiomatic. That is self-evident. The problem is that by calling them anchors instead of people, we lose sight of their humanity, and it makes it easier to have inhumane public policy. That's my problem.
Well, they're American citizens, so they have all the rights you and I have. I'm not worried about them at all.
I have to leave it there. Stay with me. Stay with me. I have to leave it there. We have to get a quick break in. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Ben and Marc about the email controversy that continues to surround Hillary Clinton. Another Democrat now might step into the race. Is Joe Biden getting ready for a run?